By religious experience in meditation, what I primarily mean is some kind of glimpse of something beyond my habitual, everyday, boring, egocentric consciousness. Yeah, so last week you had Vajratara talking about reality. This week you've got me talking about reality. And next week you've got Surya Gupta. So it's very good to have those two as well. And well, the title for today is Breaking Through to Reality, which is not quite the approach I want to take, but I'm in charge. I get to do what I want. Anyway, but a while ago when Maitreyabandhu, whatever your name is, Maitreyabandhu, said to me, he asked me to do this film about, why do you meditate? Which apparently hasn't been used, but that's fine. Yes, it reminded me of many years ago. I was on a sort of 7-month sabbatical in the mountains of Spain. I've been meditating a lot there. I was mostly on my own for that time, and there was a lot of discussion that was happening at that time about why you meditate, and people would sometimes come and visit me and stay for a week and so on. And I remember very vividly, it was a long time ago now, somebody talking about why you meditate. And I said, the reason I meditate is to have religious experiences. Yeah? And that is still, at least that's one way of talking about why I meditate, is to have a religious experience. Yeah? Now, I'm aware that the word religious, everyone goes, whoa, whoa, like right off. It's just a word, though. That's all. The tradition in ancient Greek, religion just meant the practical application of philosophy. So those people who were particularly good at philosophy would then go on to religion, which is to apply that philosophy to their life rather than just studying it. Yeah. So that's what I mean by religion. Yeah, that you have that's an applied philosophy. But sort of thinking about it just recently, I don't know why it came back to mind again. But what I actually mean by religion is a serious life. Yeah, a life that is serious, and I don't mean super, pompous and over earnest and super serious. That's actually not serious. Yeah. Buddhists are rather prone to being over earnest, I'm afraid. I'm sure you've met that. I'm not actually, but I'm sure I have been. My own teacher, Bhante Sangharakshita, once said that you can't be serious if you want to be serious, which is a brilliant way of putting it. In other words, you can't be serious in the right way. Sorry, you can't be serious in the wrong way if you want to be serious in the right way. Yeah? So religion for me is about a serious life. Yeah. In other words, a life that takes in the serious situation we human beings are in, both emotionally and personally and universally. Yeah? My grandmother, who died many, many years ago, she used to cry every time she watched the 9 o'clock news. And I feel very much like that. I don't actually watch the 9 o'clock news. I don't think it exists anymore. But you only have to glance at the news and you just want to weep. Sometimes you only have to glance at your own silliness and you want to weep, or your friend's silliness. Yeah. So a religious life is a life that is about those serious matters, not, as I say, in this sort of po-faced religious sort of way, in an over earnest, hyper serious way, which is really just a kind of way of showing off, I'm afraid. And sort of being deep and spiritual, which is really not good for people. So I definitely don't mean it like that, but I do mean it in the sense of I want a life that is a serious life, a grown-up, serious life. A life that's got bags of messing about in it, and play and fun and friendship and warmth, but basically I want a life that's serious, yeah? Now, as I say, in a certain sense, serious isn't a mood. It's more to do with a commitment. Yeah. So sometimes I can think, for heaven's sake, I'm so lightweight. I've got friends that are much more serious than I am in the best sense. I can feel so lightweight. But really serious is to do with what you're committed to. Yeah? What you're committed to, what you're basically trying to do. Yeah, that's your religion. And your religion could be shopping, it could be pornography, it could be drugs, it can be consumerism. It's what you're committed to. It's what you think about a lot. One philosopher said that religion is what you do in your solitude. And what he meant was, where your mind goes when nobody's watching is your religion. Whether it goes to any of those things or it goes to Buddhism or whatever. So a religious life is a life where you try to orientate yourself towards something serious in this best sense, which is a commitment to a kind of consciousness that is appropriate to the fact that you're going to die, and is appropriate to the fact that we live in a world of infinite suffering. We also live in a world of great joy and beauty, and great compassion even. We mustn't see the negative. It's tempting to think that human beings are dreadful creatures, but they're also wonderful, remarkable creatures. And it's up to us which kind of those two creatures we are. That's completely up to us. So when I meditate, what I'm looking for then is, on the basis of that commitment to a serious life, a life that is a real response, as far as I can manage, and I'm as silly as anybody, but a life that, looked at broadly, is an actual response to the situation we are in, which is really frightening if you look at it in any degree of... I've just been reading this book about the end of civilization, which I keep going on about, but it is rather worrying, the end of civilization. I read this book, I reread it, I just come back from an intensive retreat, and I reread it there. It was like reading a sutra about how civilizations have the seeds of their own destruction built into them. It's a hugely serious time. Historically, I think it probably is. At least many people are saying so, that we're now somewhere coming to the end of a particular civilization, the modern civilization. Started in, they think, about 1763 with the invention of the steam engine, which is the beginning of technology, effectively. And civilizations, historically, can only last about 250, 300 years. The Roman civilizations, the Greeks, and so on. By that calculation, if that's true, and I don't know, we're near the end of this civilization, which is a hugely terrifying thought. But even without that terrifying thought, you've got the great matter of personal death. You've got your friends suffering. My own daughter, I have to put that slightly in brackets, but I won't go through that. I've got two, but they're really my partner's daughters. But anyway, never mind. She became really quite anorexic at one point, and it was terrifying. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get her, it's no good me saying, you just eat, it doesn't, you got to do that, But I was really struck by someone I love very, very deeply and held in my arms the day she was born. And just from her mind, she was getting into this terrible thing that I couldn't help her with. That's really frightening. Yeah, that's really serious, isn't it? That's not something to be ironic about. That's not something to be jokey about. It's something to be religious about. Yeah, in this sense of, I've got to do something about, even if I can't do something about this suffering here. I need a life that rhymes with seriousness, with suffering. I need a life that's adequate to that. And by religious experience in meditation, what I primarily mean is some kind of glimpse of something beyond my habitual, everyday, boring, egocentric consciousness. Yeah, we've all got it. We're just like this, boring mind. And it's just rubbish, most of it, and most of it's not even recyclable, is it? It's I remember Alex saying to me, she was looking very down, and I said, "You thought you were all right?" And she said, "Oh, I just had this little thought, but it's only a little thought." I said, "Don't worry, we all just have little thoughts. That's all that's going on, This sort of planning, worrying, fretting, remembering, fantasizing mind that just goes on and on and on. We don't mean it to. We don't think, what am I going to do today? I'm just going to waste it by just going... sat in the tube, and then doom scroll for half an hour, and then, nobody wakes up thinking, yeah, that sounds a good day, yeah, great, yeah, let's do that, we just like that, yeah, we just like that. So what I'm looking for in meditation is some glimpse of something beyond that, yeah, because that's what I've committed to, is some glimpse of something beyond the egocentric consciousness. Really, that's the only possible for human beings. I'm more and more struck by the place of Buddhism in modern life because, in I think it was 1853, something like that, Friedrich Nietzsche said that belief in God has become unbelievable, which is a brilliant way of putting it. He wasn't trying to say there's no such person. He's not, he said, people always quote God is dead. What he meant is that belief in God has become unbelievable, that it's a worn-out metaphor and people can't do it anymore. And even if you think you can, you're doing it at great psychic cost, is what he's saying. You can't just, society won't let, whatever is happening in reality won't allow that anymore. I once had the misfortune of looking at somebody's poems. It's a problem I sometimes encounter. He was a sweet man, but he wrote these terrible, terrible poems, and unfortunately he had a lot of money, so he could produce volumes and volumes of them, which he sent to me and asked me to look at and so on. And that Newcomb's poems are nearly always bad in the same sort of way, but I was crossing all this out, and he was doing all the, he's saying, and then I looked out of the window and I saw buttercups. You think, no, you didn't. You live in London for a start, but why was I even saying that? He said, why can't I say that? And all I could say is, beauty won't let you. Beauty won't let you. There is a kind of spirit of beauty, and she won't let you. It'd be nice to be able to say thee and thou now, but she won't let you. It would be nice to, I don't know, shake hands with all the men and kiss the lady's hand sometimes, but beauty won't let you do that. It's like, what? You must be mad. There's a certain spirit that won't let you do things. And I think that it won't let you anymore believe in God, even if you think you do. At least not in the literal sense. Yeah? But what we've ended up with after Nietzsche's belief in God has become unbelievable is this nightmare secularism. I mean, Jung put it as well as anyone I've ever heard, which is he said, we have fallen off the roof of the medieval cathedral into the abyss of self. I mean, you couldn't put it better, could you? We used to have this medieval cathedral full of mysteries and wonder and religion, in the best sense. We've fallen off that into this abyss of self, where me and my needs and my wants and what I think and what I identify with and where, my rights becomes God, yeah? Jung actually said that what will happen is everyone will become their own church, yeah? That they'll just worship themselves. I mean, Jung and Nietzsche were weirdly prescient about the modern condition, yeah? And secularism just hasn't worked. What you're getting in the secular world is an incredible spike of mental illness. What people are predicting is what will happen is you'll get more and more very, very lonely people. Loneliness is going up exponentially. Depression is now a universal, I think it's only second to heart disease as a major cause of suffering. Yeah? And that's having got rid of God. Yeah? It hasn't been, I'm afraid, an unparalleled success, whatever. So Buddhism is trying to say, look, both of you are just taking it literally. There is a something beyond egotistical consciousness. Well, it's not a something, but we'll talk about that some more in the second half. There is a way, a functioning of consciousness which is not egoistic, yeah? Which is not secular, which is not just you doing you again. There's more than that. Yeah? I'll try and talk about this more in the second half because we are trying to talk about reality. That's all. So that's what I'm trying to do when I meditate. Like this morning, I was meditating in the London Buddhist Centre, and I'm trying to, even if I'm trying to imagine, here I am with all my stuff, but there's always more than that. There's always something, and it's open to me. If only I just need to find my way to it. Yeah, And I have more and more faith that that is true, that it's open to me always, and it's even glimmering to me if I'm at all aware or sensitive. I just need to find a way to it. But you can never build the path. It's never a tarmac road to meaning. You have to keep on discovering how to find meaning, but it's always there. It's just that the road isn't clear. Yeah? The way we start with that, to discover what meaning, is to relax a bit. And I know you've been talking about that here, and Maitreyabandhu has been teaching about that. But it's a big matter, relaxing. Yeah. And the thing I keep wanting to, I've been stressing at the LBC, is you can't do it by an effort of will. Yeah. When people say relax, it's really not helpful, because you think, if I could, I would. Duh. That's what you would say, wouldn't you? So all you can do is cultivate the conditions out of which relaxation will arise. So let's do a bit more of that before we then try and talk more about reality, because reality is all a bit grand, and we're not going to get even a glimpse of it if we can't even at least relax a bit. And even that, remember, is not an effort of will. Yeah? You can't make it happen. If you could, you would, wouldn't you? And that's why you drink instead. Anyway, so let's meditate. So once you're set up, just closing your eyes. As soon as you close your eyes, just again, it's almost like one sort of falls backwards into the body, into the direct sensations of the body. So your mind can be all over the place, but your body at least is here. And you can just sort of imagine that your body is now naturally on its own, just relaxing. You can't make it happen, but you can just imagine that that's what's happening now as you're sitting here. You know what that would feel like. You'd start to feel sort of heavier. You'd start to feel that your weight is dropping down. You know that your limbs would start feeling a bit heavier, and probably a bit warmer. So you can imagine that your limbs are heavy and warm. And then when you relax, there's that lovely sort of relief. So you can just imagine that you feel a bit relieved not to be doing anything, not to be looking into a screen, not to be talking. Just a bit of relief just to sit down and do nothing. And we're just imagining that, we're not trying to make it happen. And we can support that again by softening our eyes and our brow. Our jaw and our mouth. We can just imagine that our shoulders are dropping down, our belly is softening. And when we relax, we start to usually feel a bit emotionally warmer. We feel less threatened, less defended, a bit open to people and a bit open to ourselves. So you can just imagine that you feel quite sort of just okay, like you're sitting by the fire and you feel good about yourself, good about others. And you don't need to make a big deal of that. You're not trying to be massively earnest about all this. You're just imagining lightly that you're relaxing. Your body is dropping down. Your whole system is calming down. And because of that, you're emotionally opening up a bit. You feel a bit warmer emotionally, a bit even more optimistic emotionally. And again, you don't need to try to make that happen. You can just pretend. And then again, opening up to the sounds around you. You can include those as well. And then when you're ready, coming out of the meditation. Okay, so let's have a cup of tea, and then after tea I want to say a bit more about a sort of wisdom approach, really, because we're exploring breaking through into reality. So I want to try and see if we can, do a little bit of touching into that a bit more. Yeah, but we need to start always with the simple human thing. The trouble with wisdom is reality. All those words, they sound so heady. They sound like you need to go to university. It sounds like you've done Latin. Actually, wisdom, whatever that is more like an atmosphere. It's an embodied thing. It's an intuition, a very deep intuition. It has a cognitive element, but it's not led necessarily by that. So we need to start with the simple human matters of relaxation, feeling more emotionally positive, and then we can reach beyond that, something even greater than that. But let's do that after tea.